Hey guys, it's Drew again. I've got one more thing to show you from the National. It wasn't picked up at the National, but right after. But this one, it's got a story, it's got some sentiment, and it's got something I think you want to hear. So let's check it out. So with the National being over, 3 weeks ago, there's been this huge deluge of videos that have come out of guys telling their stories and their likes and dislikes about the event, about the venue, about the cards, about the pickups, the autographs, or whatever else. It was a great time, and I know that maybe we're getting sick of it. Maybe this is one more thing. You're like, oh, another National video if you're so excited. I've watched so many videos and just relived this memory so many times from other people's points of view after I got to go for the very first time. But I did pick up something that I haven't talked about at all. In fact, there's only one other person that knows, and it was Jake. And the reason Jake knows about it is because he was there when I got it. This didn't actually happen at the National. It happened directly after, kind of on my way home. So a little background story. So I've talked about my family and my history a little bit in the past. So if you don't know, I'll give you a quick synopsis. My dad was born and raised up in New York and in the New York City area. He grew up a New York Giants fan. He was a big Willie Mays fan. He really liked Monty Irvin. I remember him talking about that. And his big thing was, he got to go and he got to see these players play. A couple of quick things when my grandfather, was around in the 40s. They hated the Yankees, but one of the things was my grandfather knew that Joe DiMaggio was a big name and he was going to be huge. So he actually took my dad to go see Joe DiMaggio play, just to say that he got to see one of the great all times play, because my grandfather knew that much, even back then. And so my dad got to see this, and he got to see other players. In fact, I remember another story my dad told me later on, that he went to Yankee Stadium and he was sitting in the upper deck in right field. I'm sorry, in the left field, up kind of behind, sort of even with the first base line up in the upper deck, and they were playing the Indians. And at the time, one of the most exciting players that were playing for the Indians was Rocky Colavito. Well, Colavito was playing right field at the time, and my dad told this story and tells this story about how exciting of a play. And it was one of those things where he watched the whole thing happen right in front of him, and it just developed, and it was like a slow motion thing. But here's the play. I don't know the inning, I don't know the score or anything else, but basically Mickey Mantle, the great Yankee, the hero for all New York, was on third base, and there was less than 2 outs, and there was a pop-up to right field at Colavito. Well, everybody knew, including my dad, he was watching this happen in front of him, and he's watching the ball come down, and he's watching Colavito get underneath it and getting geared up, and he sees Mantle go back, and he's like hugging third base, ready to take off, and then my dad's watching, he's got Mickey Mantle about to take home with his blazing speed, and Colavito with its rocket arm, and it was just a matchup. And it was right there in front of him. He was perfectly placed in the stands to be able to watch this. And what happened was the catch is made, and Mantle takes off, and Colavito makes the throw. And he's watching the ball come in, and back and forth and back and forth, and as both converged at the plate, the catcher catches the ball, makes a beautiful tag, and throws out Mickey Mantle trying to tag up. Well, my dad was so excited that he got to see this and witness it. And even today, if he talks about one of the things that he ever remembers, that's the play that he'll talk about, or one of the plays that he'll talk about, how he got to see this great young arm out in right field pick off one of the great runners of the era. But my dad grew up a baseball fan, and my dad taught me a lot of things. My dad taught me my love of baseball. He taught me a love of history. I love history and U.S. history, and I love how baseball intertwines with it so much. My dad taught me about people, and I got to watch my dad and the way he would stop everything to go help a neighbor if they needed, or if there was a call from somebody who needed something from, say, our church. He would stop and he would go help these people, whatever he did. And I tried to live like that with my dad in mind, in the way that he taught us as kids to always look and try to be a servant and a servant leader to other people, whether it's people that you work with, within your family, or in your life, in your circle. And my dad did a lot of things, and my dad loves a lot of things, but my dad is not a collector. And that's one of the things that we are not together. I've always been a collector. I've always tried to take things and I wanted this and collect, and I've got this collection that I show here on YouTube, and you guys get to see it. And my dad admires it, and he thinks it's kind of cool, but he's never got it. He's never been a collector. He's never pulled in things and to get the order and the system of it and everything. I actually got a little bit from my grandfather. Now, I've been thinking about it. My grandfather used to collect little things, not baseball stuff, but other kind of stuff. But it was something that my dad and I don't have in common. Well, so going back to the National and where this whole thing came up. I had left my house. I drove about 2.5 hours up, and my dad actually only lives about 15 or 20 minutes from Jake from Legends Never Die, where he lives up in North Carolina. So I stayed at my dad's house for that night, stayed overnight, got up super early in the morning. Jake came over, picked me up. I left my truck at my dad's house for the week, and we headed up to Cleveland. Well, when I was up in Cleveland, as I'm meeting people and seeing cards and I'm gaining all these experience, all the things that you guys got to witness and see as you're watching all these videos. Well, as I was doing that, I actually got a text from my dad, who does not text, like, ever. And he says, "Hey, I saw this thing and I was thinking about you. I don't know if you want it, but I got you something." And I thought, well, it's kind of weird and different. It's weird because my dad doesn't, collect, and he just doesn't think like that or process like that. And that's fine. It's just who he is. Well, when I got back down to North Carolina, Jake brought me back over to my dad's house. My dad comes out, tells the story that my dad and his wife were out in antique stores, and he had never been to antique stores before. Like, I don't know, a few weeks before I saw him up at the National, and he was going around and he saw this thing and he remembered, oh, wait a minute, Drew, he likes this thing. So my dad picked something up. And when I got back, even though I had all of these amazing finds and all of these cards that I had picked up and different things like, like this bank that I talked about, and I love it. And I found all these things at the National. I've shown these videos before. But what my dad did, he's like, "Hey, I saw this in a store and I thought about you and I thought it was neat, so I picked it up and I want you to have it." And what my dad got for me, well, it was a Wheaties box with Ken Griffey Jr. on it. He remembered that Ken Griffey Jr. was my guy. He knew Griffey was my thing. He doesn't know anything. Is this worth money? Not worth money? Is it cool? Is it not cool? He just was like, "Hey, Drew would like this." And he picked it up and he bought it and he gave it to me. And now I've got a Wheaties box from when Griffey heads back to Cincinnati. It says, "Welcome home, Griffey." It was a big deal in Cincinnati for any of you Reds fans or Griffey fans. You know that time when that happened, the anticipation of what could happen with Griffey coming home. But my dad found this Wheaties box for me, and he picked it up and he gave it to me and said, "Here, I thought you might like this, and it's cool." And as the time has gone by and I've gotten back into the routine of life and family and work and all this other stuff, and I've put the cards away and I've reorganized my stuff and I've done the videos and I've watched the videos, I've realized that this isn't just a Wheaties box that was kind of neat that my dad picked up for me. This is actually the first time my dad ever got me something for my collection. I can't think of anything else where he was like, "Hey, Drew would like this," and he gave it to me for my collection. Now, he's given me baseball things like books. He's given me experiences, taking me to baseball games and stuff. He's given me a passion and a love for baseball, but he's never like given me something within my collection. I'm not upset about that. That's just not who he is, and I've never expected anything. But this time he found something that he thought, you know what, Drew might like this in his room. He's been in this room before. He hasn't seen it lately, but maybe coming up soon he'll see it again. But my dad took the time to buy a Wheaties box because he knew Griffey was my guy. At least he was at one point. Thought I might like it. And I thought, you know what, as I drop it, I thought, you know what, that makes a story. That makes a video. And I thought I would share it with you guys here today. So anyway, that's all it is. So is this the most expensive thing I got from the National? No. Is this the rarest thing possible? No, not even close. But is this the only thing that my dad gave me? And it's another memory of me going to my first National? Absolutely. So Dad, if you ever watch this video, I appreciate it. I appreciate everything that you do for me. I don't say it enough, but I am saying it here. So for all you out there, I appreciate you guys watching me. And like always, next time, you guys be good.